So this evening, our program is called a brief look at the division of wildlife and its role in society. And our expert tonight is Michael Budd. And Mike is a native of Licking County, but before he started to work in Tuscaross County, he got his degree in Bachelor of Science in Environmental Science and Natural Resources from The Ohio State University. He served various police departments, the National Park Service, and Knox County as well. And then in 2018, he was assigned as our wildlife officer here in Tuscaross County. And he's going to tell us, what are the things that he does? And I'm sure he has some stories that he can tell us. And we're going to find all we want to know about the Division of Wildlife. And Michael Budd, the program is yours. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess in conversing with people in the public all the time, I find that a lot of people know, like they've heard of us, they know kind of what we are, but they don't really know what we do. I get questions all the time. What exactly is your job? What do you do? And sometimes it's people in desperation just looking for anybody to help them with a problem they might have. And so they call me hoping that it's something that I do. And a lot of times it is. So I'm always happy to help. But basically, my job with the Division of Wildlife is law enforcement. But I'm just one of many different jobs within our agency. We have biologists, we have fish biologist specialists. We've got people who do like public reach out and education. We got people that are specifically assigned to the different wildlife properties across the state, do work there with habitat and stuff like that. And then obviously we partner with a lot of different nonprofit agencies and stuff that will do some of the wildlife rehabilitation and stuff like that. So I guess the one thing that separates me from a lot of other law enforcement is my job is not solely law enforcement. So we do a variety of things. I kind of usually describe myself as a jack of all trades and a master of none. We kind of wear a lot of different hats. So like right now where I'm doing a program for you guys, we do a lot of those. I do a lot of like youth programs and summertime stuff. We do go to schools once in a while. We do some wildlife stuff. I do a lot of health related stuff, going around, somebody calls with a sick or injured animal, something like that. I do go deal with things like that. Sometimes I will help out with habitat work or something with the biologists, what they're doing. We do surveys. So kind of a little bit of everything. So that just gives you kind of a brief understanding. So I'm going to go into kind of some of the details. I don't know if the PowerPoint's going to work. I can try and pull it up. Try it one more time and see. Are you guys able to see that?
We can't see it yet, so keep trying.
Okay. Okay, well, I don't think it's going to work, but it's not really necessary to do this. Okay, can you still hear me and everything?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm going to start with our mission. Our mission is to conserve and improve fish and wildlife resources and their habitats for sustainable use and appreciation by all. Basically, where that specific language comes from is back in 1873, if you can think back that far. We had depleted wildlife resources and natural resources to the point where some stuff was extinct and a lot of other stuff was basically used beyond a point that it could be sustainable. And society at that time realized that if we don't do something pretty soon, we're not going to have any natural resources. So they created At that time, it was the Ohio Fish Commission, and then later it became the Division of Wildlife. So they basically charged our agency to hold all of the wildlife in the state in trust for the citizens of the state. Basically, we control everything wildlife related within the state, and that's including health, definitely the management of it, and making sure that the wildlife is here for future generations and for enjoyment by everybody. Basically, we have worked pretty vigorously to bring back some of the species that were completely removed from the state. We've had quite a bit of success in doing that, and we're just more or less here to make sure that everybody's got a fair chance at it, and that everybody can go out and enjoy those resources. A lot of people that knows a little bit about what we do would think that we only deal with the hunting and fishing, and that's not true at all, actually. I deal just as much with wildlife watchers and wildlife enthusiasts as I do with hunting and fishing. Obviously, a lot of the law enforcement side of things is usually dealing with the hunting and fishing side, but we do get a lot of avid just outdoors people, bird watchers, any of the above. So basically, that's what our job is in an entirety, but I'll explain a little bit further. So a lot of what we do management-wise is science-based, and through a lot of surveys and through the feedback that we get from the public, through a lot of the research that we do with the wildlife, aging stuff, looking at the different things with each species, trying to decide, is it in decline? Is it doing well? Is it not doing well? Basically all of the stuff that you would normally look at to decide whether you can, whether it's in, what am I trying to say? Whether it's in decline or whether it's actually doing well, more or less. So with that, there's a lot of different things that plays in. And so we spend a lot of time looking at that and trying to make sure that we're doing the right thing, and that we can either help it or sustain it at the level that it's at. On top of that,
Michael, somebody is asking a question about whether you are helping to protect the eagles.
Yes. So with the eagles, there's actually a separate entity, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, which is the federal agency. With that being a federally protected bird, then we also partner with them. And yes, the eagles are protected, and that is something that we monitor. We try to keep tabs. Anytime we find a new nest, we GPS mark that and kind of keep track of it to see what's going on with the nest, make sure that nobody's trying to destroy the nest. And then we try to see if they're actually hatching young on the nest, and whether it's a successful nest. Sometimes we even go as far as to try to pay attention to how many offspring are hatched out of those nests. Does that answer the question?
I think so. The same person is asking about the increasing coyote population in our area.
Yes, that is everywhere. That's not just that's not just in that specific area. So coyotes is one that doesn't have a natural predator other than humans. And so if humans don't interact and hunt them, then basically they have no natural predators and they can thrive. And with the abundance of wildlife right now, we've got a lot of rabbits, a lot of squirrels, raccoons, stuff to that nature. There's an abundance of food, so they are thriving. And along with the coyotes, we're seeing come back with the bobcats and also with foxes too, which all compete for the same food.
Yeah, I think the person is asking how large the population is. So I don't know how you count that.
Well, I don't have those exact numbers. Our biologist would, but I don't have those in front of me. Any of the numbers that we would come up with would probably be an estimated number. So we wouldn't have the exact numbers, and that does fluctuate a lot. Coyote hunting is something that the hunters are starting to take up on. It's becoming popular, and so, no, excuse me, in areas where they are hunted, we're noticing that there's either a balance or a decline in coyotes, and in areas where they're not hunted or trapped, certainly they are flourishing, and the numbers are rising. And unfortunately, a lot of those areas that we're seeing that is usually in areas that they cannot be hunted, which is inside of city limits and stuff like that. It's not something you would think would be inside the cities, but they actually flourish inside of cities because there's a lot of wildlife inside cities that basically is not used to having predation, so they're easy targets.
I think that answers the question. All right.
Okay. So along with the wildlife stuff, we also have a lot of recreation type areas across the state. We call them wildlife areas because primarily their purpose is management for wildlife. On those areas, we usually do a lot of habitat work. We're basically doing everything we can on those areas to benefit specific wildlife, usually stuff that's struggling. Obviously, it's for everything, but we do focus on things that are struggling. A lot of upland game type stuff with like pheasant, quail. We'll try to focus some areas on that, different things like that. But we've got a lot of opportunities across the state for that. We just made a big purchase with the American Electric Power properties. That's not in Tuscaross County, but it is just south of here. There's part of it in Guernsey, and then a little bit further south from there. But a lot of opportunities. I don't know how many of the people on here are avid wildlife watchers, but there's a lot of good opportunities to see things out in the wild on some of these areas. And some of them, some of these areas have stuff you wouldn't see other places. So Ohio is a really good place for that. And in Tuscaross County, we've got Beach City Wildlife Area. A lot of the locals know it as Dundee Falls. I guess a lot of people that I talk to out there actually still think it's a park. It's actually a wildlife area, and it's managed for wildlife, but it is a really pretty place to go, and you can actually hike in there. There's 2 waterfalls out there, and definitely an abundance of wildlife. There's a marsh down below the falls, and definitely a lot of old growth woods in there, and it's just a really pretty place to go and hike. And unlike parks, we don't have any rules there for no wading or swimming or anything like that, so you can wade beneath the falls there and do some of the things that you can't do other places, which is nice. But we actually encourage people to get out and into the wild and see what there is to offer outside of the TV or outside of video games, stuff like that. Get your kids out and enjoy that. And that's kind of what we're about with our public land. We want people to get out. Obviously, we cater to hunter and fishermen, but we also cater to people who just want to go out and see wildlife or are bird watchers or anything to that nature. We also have a lot of water across the state. So we've got part of Atwood Lake in Tusc County. And then we've got obviously the Tuscarawas County River, the Stillwater, quite a few places where you can go and fish. You might see an osprey or see an eagle along the rivers. They like to fish along the rivers. So it's a good place. They are navigable. So you could take a kayak or a boat or anything like that on them. So that's a good opportunity. We've got a pretty good fish population in the river and in the lake. And that's good, really good for fishing. And then we've got Lake Erie, which is an most overlooked place in the state. Anywhere outside of the state, people flock to here to go to Lake Erie to fish, but I think we kind of take it for granted here in the States. So It's obviously not in the county, but it's very close, a nice short drive, and you can have some of the best fishing in the country up there for walleye, and then you can get some beaches and stuff up there too, which is nice. But one thing I kind of wanted to talk about is our funding. So unlike most of the other agencies in the state, we are not funded by state tax dollars. We are solely funded by the sale of hunting and fishing licenses. So everything that we do, all the operations that we do, is based on the sale of hunting and fishing licenses, permits, anything when you go to buy a fishing license, or if you was to get one of the various permits, a habitat stamp, some of the different things that we've started coming out with now. You can support wildlife even if you don't hunt or fish. We've got some of the stamps and the various things like that. So basically everything that we do is funded from that, and I think most people think that we got some state tax dollars in that, and we don't. So with that, we do kind of start to cater towards the people who hunt and fish, because that's the ones that's paying the way. But certainly we will do anything with wildlife. We also get some money from an excise tax on hunting and fishing equipment. So anytime somebody buys anything that, like a fishing pole or a gun or even some ammo, maybe a tree stand, anything like that, we do get a small amount of that tax money back, and that's used usually for habitat management and anything to do with basically management on our areas, land acquisition, stuff like that. But it does not pay the general fee for the operations part of it. So that's something interesting with us. And then also we got the Pittman Robertson, which is another one. And that does get some money from gasoline sales with boat gasoline, like the Recreation Rec 90, stuff like that. We do get a little bit of that tax to fund off of. So that's in a nutshell where our funding comes from. I do get some questions on that once in a while, so I kind of bring that up, and that's something that we're kind of proud of as an agency, that we can operate solely within ourselves, and we don't have to ask for outside money most of the time, and so we can be sustainable in that aspect. But with that, I would say that when I introduced myself, I said I'm the Tuscaross County Wildlife Officer. I am the only officer for the county. So we do get stretched pretty thin. I'm only allowed to work 40 hours a week. So at the end of my 40, it's an adjacent county officer that's usually covering for me. So we get stretched pretty thin in that aspect. We're not like the sheriff's office or a lot of police departments where when I sign off, there's somebody else coming on behind me in my place to do the rest of the job. It's me and me only. So if you call for the Tuscaross County officer, you're going to get me. And a lot of times it ends up with a voicemail, unfortunately. So, but we do have a few numbers, which I'll give at the end of the presentation here, that will get you a direct line in. But for the most part, yeah, it's a tough job to do with 40 hours a week. But we manage it. We do the best we can, and we'll be flexible in doing that. So, but that's something to keep in mind. So I get some frustration once in a while with phone calls, sometimes because I don't answer right away, and it takes some time to call you back. But I get between 35 and 40 phone calls a day, so during the hunting season. So sometimes it takes a little while to return all those calls and voicemails and emails and everything else, text messages now. So just keep that in mind. Does anybody have any questions thus far on that stuff?
So if you have a question, Go ahead and unmute yourself if you want to, and then he can, you can ask your question, and then Michael can answer your question. So maybe they don't have a question. I have a question about bears.
Yeah. What about them?
Well, like, are bears a problem during the summertime, or do people see
Not
bears in
currently.
Tuscaross County?
We do periodically get reports of bears. We don't generally have problems with them in Tuscaross County. Most of the bears that we see in the county are usually juvenile male bears. They come from Pennsylvania. They usually will work their way through, causing havoc here and there, and they'll move on. So what happens is a juvenile male basically leaves its mom, and they're looking for a mate. And they come through basically looking for a mate. And if they don't find one, they keep moving. And so far, there's not been any female bears for them to stay here. Now, I would add with that at some point we probably will have black bears here permanently, but at this point in time, we don't have any that I know of. I certainly do get reports though.
Mm-hmm.
And we're getting a lot of bobcats too. We're starting to see more and more of those, mostly in the southeastern part of the county, but definitely working their ways up. And I get reports here and there of bobcats, which is good. And I mean, we're getting a lot of these species back that basically were extirpated from the state, and that's kind of what our job is. That's what our whole agency was built on, was try to bring that stuff back, bring back opportunities for people to see this wildlife that is native to the state and was once here, but now is not. Coyotes are actually one thing that is not native to the state. So wolves were native, but coyotes are not. Coyotes came in basically because there were no predators to shove them out. They're more of a Western type animal.
That's interesting. And I am glad that you talked about the funding, because I, like other people, thought that you as part of the Department of Natural Resources, that you would just be funded through that state funding, system. But that is interesting that, like, who would think that you would get a part of the tax or the gasoline sold to the boating, the boat owners. I would have never thought about that.
Yeah, and it is helpful, and a lot of that money does go right back into the areas and stuff. We definitely use up that money. A lot of the money coming from the hunting and fishing equipment went into purchasing the AEP property. We did get a little bit of money from the state for that, to get that acquired, because that was something that popped up, and that was going to be a loss for the recreational community if we didn't get that property. So we wanted to make sure we got it. And obviously we didn't have that kind of reserve. So we did approach the state about getting that, which was good, but that's a good addition. Ohio is one of the states that doesn't have a lot of public ground. You go out west, a lot of the western states, they have a lot of public areas, a lot of public ground where you can go out, stretch your legs, and see wildlife and experience the outdoors. And Ohio doesn't have that. So anything we can get in that aspect to preserve for people to do that, that's what we're about, and that's what we want to do.
And so during the pandemic, what have your calls into your office, how have they changed, or I don't know, how has the pandemic affected your work and your agency?
Well, I'm busier, that's for sure. I would say the calls are the same, but there's probably more calls. Definitely more people out. That's one thing I noticed this year. I think a lot of guys and ladies had a lot more time, and so they used the outdoors as a source to get out and away from it all, and we welcomed it. But certainly there there was a lot more use on our areas than we've seen in the past, and a lot more people hunting, a lot more people fishing, using the lakes, seeing people on the rivers and stuff. It's kind of refreshing to see, honestly, from my side of things. It's when you go to a youth fishing tournament or something, and you see a kid that's got his fishing pole in the water and he's on his phone playing a fishing game. It's it's kind of like, oh no, but with the pandemic, it's kind of forced people to get out of the house and actually experience what else there is out there. And I think it's been a good thing for society to see that. I think it's gotten people into the outdoors and made them see that there's other things that they can entertain themselves with.
Right. I agree with that. And actually, that's one of the reasons that when this topic came up, I thought, well, this is a great thing to do, because with the springtime and the better weather coming, more and more people will be getting out, So,
Yeah.
And actually, we were just hiking the other day. Well, I wouldn't call me a hiker, but I would say that we were walking in the woods out there at Camp Tuscaross. And there was there's a big sign that says to sign in. And I think that's so important, that when you are at a place where, it's possible to get lost or to get disoriented, I think it is important to sign in. How will people know that you're there? How would they be able to help you if you're, injured or lost or whatever? How would they know if you don't follow those rules? I did not know the difference between a wildlife area and a park, that you mentioned.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, basically they're very similar, and most aspects of them is similar. It's just a wildlife area is catered towards wildlife. We definitely do a lot of the stuff on. You'll walk into a wildlife area and say, "Man, this place isn't taken care of very well." Well, it's because we're not trying to trim it up nice and make it look really nice. It's more we want shrub brush, we want tall grass, we want places that wildlife can go into and flourish and hide and stuff like that. So that would be the one difference. Our trails are definitely not as well maintained, or sometimes not at all. A lot of it's just maintained by foot traffic and people using it. But yeah, so we've got that, and then certainly some of the rules are different, but yeah, for the most part, I mean, and sometimes our wildlife areas coincide with state parks too. So we'll have a state park right next to a wildlife area where part of it's trails, and then the rest of it's for wildlife. And but it really is a good opportunity. I mean, we've got a lot of different places where you could see birds that come from all over the world. Definitely at certain times of the year, it might be something that you would never see anywhere else. So a lot of waterfowl now. With some of the season changes, we're starting to see waterfowl, especially in this area, that normally you would not see in this area, and you wouldn't normally see in most areas across the United States. So it's kind of neat to be able to see that, and it's something to get out and do.
Mm-hmm. And so the picture in the newspaper that we put in there is you with that snowy owl. Where was that?
That was here in Tuscaross County. So that was certainly a different thing too. It wouldn't normally be this far south. I'm guessing with some of the bad weather we had, it got pushed south and got lost. But I don't know. I took it to the rehab center. I think that they basically said they thought it had gotten exhausted from being pushed south and stuff. So I've not checked back up on it after that to see what happened with it, but I would assume that they probably nursed it back to health and tried to release it again. But
and where was that?
That was trying to think where it was at. I want to say middle of Tusc County somewhere, like around New Philly, or I think maybe a little bit east of Philly. But yeah, it was not something we would normally find down here. So
right,
it's pretty neat.
Yeah. That was a great picture, and I thought, wow, what a great experience that is. So what's the scariest call you've been called out to?
I would say most of my scary stuff comes from humans, not from wildlife. So,
why doesn't that surprise me?
I guess humans are the most scary animal out there, I would say. But yeah, no, we get anything and everything, all kinds of crazy stuff. I get calls once in a while from guys who trap that get a bobcat caught in their trap and they can't legally take it, so they have to release it. And a lot of times I get the call to go release it for them. So some of those can be pretty hairy, getting them back out of the trap. They obviously not very happy to be in the trap. So just picture your house cat when it's mad and then add 20 pounds to it or more. And that's what you have to deal with.
Right.
So, but yeah, I would say it's probably not as bad as some of the stuff I dealt with out west when I was a park ranger. Some of the mountain lions that would come into the campgrounds and stuff, that was probably a little worse.
And what made you decide to go into this field?
I've always had a passion for wildlife. I mean, ever since I was old enough to even go into the woods, I think I spent my entire childhood in the woods and running around and stuff. So one of my best friends from high school, he was a hunter and trapper, and he kind of got me into the hunting side of things. I'd always been an outdoors kid, but my family didn't really hunt or trap when I was growing up. So I kind of got into it with my best friend and his family and stuff. And I guess that kind of sealed the deal. So I kept applying until I got into the Division of Wildlife.
And here you are in Tuscaross County.
And here I am.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
So,
and got back home for the most part.
I'm sorry, what?
I said, and got back home for the most part. When I worked for the Park Service, I was all over the country. So Ohio is where I was born and raised. So
right.
it's good to be back.
So other folks who are on the call, do you have a question or a comment that you'd like to? Oh, I see. Someone is asking, how much education does your field require?
So as of now, it's just an associate's degree that's required, but I would say that most of the guys that work for us have a bachelor's degree of some sort. And then we go through the same training that any of the police officers or sheriff's deputies or anything like that go through. We have a law enforcement program. We have to go through an academy, and then the Division of Wildlife has their own academy. So we have to go through and learn a whole bunch of wildlife related stuff and how to deal with different situations and stuff like that. So all in all, I think it's about an eight to 10 month training course with that part of it. And then it's 6 months field training once you get out of that on top of that. So
That's good to know. Yeah.
it can be a tough field to get into, that's for sure. The jobs are limited, and it's definitely competitive, that's for sure. I think there was 800 people that applied when I applied.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
How much time did you spend in the national parks? I mean, what?
I think I was with them about 5 years. I was just a seasonal, so I got bumped around quite a bit. About every 6 to 8 months, I was picking up and going somewhere else. But I did work up at Cuyahoga Valley for several seasons up there. And the last place I worked was in Bryce Canyon, Utah. So, but it's a good job. I liked it out there too. I got to do a lot of wildlife stuff with that job too, which was nice. But it just wasn't home.
Somebody else have a question or a comment?
I would encourage everybody to get on our website, wildohio.gov. There's a lot of really, really cool stuff on there, a lot of good information. There's a lot of educational type stuff on there. It's kind of fun just to get on there and read about stuff. I learned stuff on there that I didn't know, and I thought I knew everything. So, but yeah, that's a good place. And then I guess I'll throw out some of the other phone numbers too. So our dispatch center is 24 hours, and they do answer calls all the time. And we have two numbers to go there: the 1-800-WILDLIFE for non-emergency stuff, and then For stuff that you want immediate attention, or if you're wanting to report something anonymously, it's the 1-800-POACHER number. That's a tip line. You can call in there. You can be completely anonymous, give whatever information you have, and there's nothing that can tie you back to that complaint or anything. So that number gets used a lot, and I'm glad that we have that, because that gets me information that I might not otherwise have gotten, because somebody might be afraid that retaliation could come with the perpetrator finding out who reported them or whatnot. So I always encourage people to call. If you see something, say something. Like I said before, I'm the only officer in the county, so I can only be in one place at a time. So we do a lot relying on the public. I do a lot of follow-up. I'm probably more of an investigator than I am a patrolman, because a lot of my stuff is after the fact. I hear information, or I find something out, or I see something, and then I follow up on it and find out what happened, and try to go talk to people. So, and that's a lot of what my law enforcement side of it is doing, is following up with complaints. And so we rely a lot on that. I mean, we do a lot of other things to try and catch people in the act of stuff, but I would say I probably make more cases off public complaints than I do off anything else.
And what kinds of things are people doing that break the rules or are out of the ordinary?
Imagination is amazing. So
oh my.
I would say that the most common complaint in the county is probably trespassing. Just people going where they're not supposed to be. But then we have a lot of people that are shooting deer from the road and doing mischief, stuff like that. And certainly that's extremely dangerous. And we don't want that. So we do deal with that some. A lot of minor type stuff, tagging violations, different things to that nature. But Tuscaross County is one of the biggest hunting counties in the state. We're usually 1 or 2 with the amount of deer that we harvest. So it's kind of a destination spot for hunters, out-of-state hunters, in-state hunters coming from other counties. There's a lot of property here, a lot of deer, and a lot of good hunting, and we definitely see a big influx during the deer hunting season and the turkey season, just because the opportunity is here, and everybody knows it, and everybody comes in to partake in it. So.
Right. So somebody said to repeat the anonymous call, the number that for the anonymous phone calls.
It's 1-800-POACHER.
Oh, poacher.
Poacher, yep.
Okay. Is that enough letters?
I believe so. I guess I've never called it.
Okay.
And those numbers are listed on our website as well. So
okay.
So we can look them up. Yeah, I think they actually list out the numbers for somebody that doesn't have the numbers on their phone. I don't know if I guess I never pay attention if my smartphone actually has the letters on it still or not.
Yeah.
It's kind of something that's getting phased out with the numbers and letters, but I think you can still do it on your smartphone.
Right. And if it doesn't, go ahead.
That's a 24-hour number. So there's somebody answering that all the time. And sometimes if it's something that's good enough, they will call me at my house and send me out. Certainly any active serious violation, I will sometimes go. So if I'm home and they're calling me, I'll probably be going. So. Yeah. And our schedule's all over the place. I don't work a 9 to 5, and I don't just work Monday through Friday. So we generally make our own schedules, but we usually make them based on what the public's doing. So we try to work when people are recreating, which unfortunately usually means I work a lot of weekends and evenings and stuff like that. So we try to match that, so we're working when stuff's happening. But so.
Other questions? Feel free to unmute yourself, make a comment. Maybe you've, Maybe you've wanted to call something in and didn't know where. You might have a question. Oh, we have a silent crowd tonight.
Usually I call this time Stump the Game Warden. Ask me
Oh.
something I don't know the answer to.
It's a good challenge.
Yeah, and somebody usually does. It's usually fun at the schools and stuff because the kids will come up with some off the wall stuff, and some of it's pretty good. They have a good imagination.
So if people see bobcats, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. Do they come? They probably are. Everybody always says they're more afraid of us than we are of them. So do
Yeah.
they run away? They hide?
Yeah, if they see you, they would run away. They're pretty elusive, so the chances of seeing one in the wild is pretty slim.
Okay.
Most of the reports that I've had is either somebody who got it on a trail camera, like for deer hunting, they'll set up a camera on a tree, and so I'll get pictures from the trail cameras, or it's somebody sitting in a deer stand and sees them, or they're turkey hunting. I had one guy say that he was calling for turkeys and he called a bobcat in, so that was an interesting hunt for him,
Right.
but yeah, they're more afraid of you for sure. They're usually not aggressive towards humans at all. They're looking for small prey and wildlife type stuff. So if they see you, they're gonna take off running for sure.
Mm-hmm.
The only time I would ever say that you might have a problem with a bobcat is if you would get one that had a bunch of kits with it, kittens, the young, and somehow you would get between the mom and those, then you might have an issue. But other than that, you're not gonna ever have any problems with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, you know, they don't want to be around you either. You're strange to them, you know.
Yeah.
They don't know what you're gonna do either. So yeah.
Yeah, and they see humans as a predator, so they're afraid of us. I mean, they see us
Mm-hmm.
as a threat to them. So they're going to steer clear of us as much as they can. And coyotes are the same way. I do see different things inside of the city limits. So sometimes wildlife that grows up with people, they don't have the same fear of humans that most of the stuff in the wild has. So I'm always hesitant to say that they will never come after you and that never, never, never stuff, but because there's always a possibility, and usually it's in city limits where I see stuff that you wouldn't normally see. They just don't have that same fear. I mean, there's places in certain cities where you can feed deer out of your hands, so that's certainly not normal either.
Right,
Should,
right.
shouldn't be doing that, but people do, and so definitely inside of city limits, you see a lot of abnormal wildlife behavior.
Other questions from people? Well, okay. Well, thank you, Michael. I appreciate it so much. And I also want to thank everybody else for coming as well, because, you know, I think I learned some important information. And if I see something, like you say, if you see something, say something. And we have some phone numbers and know who to get in touch with. And now we've had the opportunity to meet our wildlife officer in our county. So, you know, we know that he's available, you know, and interested in preserving wildlife and protecting our environment. And so, and I think it was really great that you talked about Dundee Falls, because so many people over the years have gone out there to enjoy that. And I think it's a place that people never tire of. And even though there are not rules, I hope people are being smart about being out there so that it, you know, the area is not you know, destroyed in any way, so that people from, you know, all times can go out there and enjoy that, because I know people really enjoy that out there. So
Yeah, I guess I shouldn't have said there's no rules. There is some rules. It just doesn't have the same rules as parks.
mm-hmm.
you, you still can't litter. You still can't be there after dark and stuff like that. But yeah, certainly you can go off trail all you want and enjoy some of the outdoors. There's a lot of actual social trails and stuff out there that takes you into the back of the place where nobody really goes. So there's a lot of really neat stuff, a lot of rock structures and stuff. It's just a cool area. Closest thing to Hocking Hills that's up this way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I do think a lot of people lately have just wanted to get out and enjoy the outdoors and fresh air. We've been cooped up at home. And so now with the warm weather coming, more and more people will venture out. So it's good to know some places to go and some things to look for, you know. All right. Well, thank you so much, Michael. This was very informative and we enjoyed it. And so I thank the people who attended, our participants, and I thank you for coming. And hopefully we'll be able to get out in these, next upcoming months and enjoy wildlife. And it's good for our psyches. It's good to relax in the outdoors and do it safely. So,
Absolutely.
all right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. All right, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good evening.
You guys too.
Thank you. All right. So I guess that's it.